Hey guys, it's Troy. Welcome to another episode. Become her escape, not her employee. Okay, become her escape, not her employee. What do I mean by that? Well, basically, you want to present, particularly at the beginning, you want to present as the lover, okay, the lover archetype, certainly not the provider, and certainly not the guy who does odd jobs for her and helps her move house and puts up new cabinets in her kitchen and does the grouting in her bathroom or whatever, okay? The whole point of romance, right? Romance is founded in attraction, okay? Romance is founded in visceral, raw attraction, okay? We might say sexual attraction, we might say erotic attraction. It's actually those things and also something more. It's narrative attraction as well, okay? You want to be bringing a story with you, right? You want to be somewhat larger than life. You want to be somebody who brings with them this sensation of otherness, okay? You don't want to just be the average bloke in the street, okay? So you want to be her escape. And again, this counts for all the way through the relationship, really, but certainly in the early parts of it, okay? You want to appear to be an escape from normality. And this is why talking too much about work on first dates is usually a bad idea. Now, I'll qualify that by saying that on a first date or on an early date, you want to be doing probably 20% of the talking, and you want her to be doing about 80%, okay? Because for a start, you don't want to be giving away too much about yourself too early because that kills the mystique. But secondly, you want to be finding out about her, right? You want to be drilling down into her interests, into the things that she loves, into the things that she hates, into the things that she fears, into the things that she desires, okay? And obviously work is a big part of people's lives, so it kind of depends what she does. If she's a fashion stylist and she works with, major celebrities or something like that, so basically she's doing an interesting job, that's rich, fertile ground for you to talk about, because obviously she's a creative person, right? So was she always a creative person? How did that first manifest itself? Did that happen when she was a child? Did she love to draw when she was a kid, Was it always the style and fashion industry that she wanted to go into? Was she ever into art instead? There are so many different avenues that you can go down about her. But if her job, like many people, is relatively mundane, she works in an office, she works in finance or something like this, then yes, you can touch on that, but the conversation might be better diverted to something else, to something a little bit more passionate, a little bit more exciting, okay? Because again, the underlying principle here is you are there to offer escape. You're not there to offer her conversation or interaction that reminds her of the mundanity of her quotidian life, okay? Her day-to-day, boring daily life. Because most of us have pretty boring lives, okay? Really, when you drill down into it. And this is one of the things I think with beautiful women, we tend to romanticize them, we tend to mythologize them. We look at their Instagram feeds, we look at their stories, and we forget that that's curated, okay? We forget that that's the highlight reel, okay? So we look at her, she's wearing a beautiful dress, she's in some amazing location, and we have this impression and we think, oh my God, she's like this James Bond girl. She's leading this extraordinary, glamorous and decadent life. And maybe sometimes she is, but 99% of the time, for a lot of these women, most of the time they're not. They're doing ordinary things. They're getting up in the morning, they're checking their social media, they're having breakfast, maybe they're going to the gym, maybe they're going to a job they don't particularly like very much, they've got to pay bills, they've got to get on public transport, They're doing the normal basic quotidian stuff, all right? And you, as the lover or as the suitor or whatever you want to call it, you are there to offer her an escape from that, okay? Because otherwise, why are you appealing? All right, why are you appealing? Now, haters or detractors will say, well, if you're good looking, fine. And maybe for a while that is escape enough, okay? If you are stupendously good looking, then yeah, sure, maybe, she's gonna want to hang out with you for that reason. But the most successful people in social interactions, the most successful people in dating are those who maybe they have that quality or maybe less so. I mean, look at Serge Gainsbourg, right? He dated some of the most beautiful women in the world at the time, Bardot, Jane Birkin, and so on. Not the best looking guy, but incredibly charismatic. He carried a mythos which was larger than himself, okay? And that came through, obviously, from his writing, his songwriting, but the way that he dressed, the way that he carried himself, the decadence with which he conducted himself, all right? And I'm not condoning smoking 100 Gauloises a day, and I'm not condoning, heavy drinking, but let's face it, he did those things, right? He was somebody who lived on the edge. And it's easy to see why these women were so beguiled by him, right? Because he offered, literally, probably in his case, he offered an escape. Now, when you put money into the equation, the escape can be literal, okay? It can be, let's go to Italy for the weekend. It could be, let's go to the south of France for the weekend. Now, I'm not saying you have to do that, but a rich friend of mine once said to me, the thing about money, because guys always think, okay, it's all about money. So if I've got money, then the women are going to flock to me and it's going to be great. Not necessarily true. When we have rich clients, of which we have quite a number, we always, without exception, tell them to not foreground their money. We tell them not to lead with their money. In fact, if anything, we tell them to downplay the money that they have. But where the money does become useful is that you can offer interesting experiences. In other words, you can offer a form of escape. And I will often do this kind of as a joke, and sometimes semi-seriously, but often almost as a joke. But I'll just say to her, have you ever been to Rio? Or wherever. And she goes, no. I'll say, we should go tonight. Have you got your passport? She's like, no, I haven't got it with me. I'm like, right, go home and get it. We're going to Rio, okay? Now, obviously, it's a joke. I'm not actually literally going to go to Rio. But I am the reason that I'm posing that joke is that I want to appear spontaneous. I want to appear adventurous. I want to appear to be somebody who will do surprising and unusual things. And sometimes I will do those things. I mean, again, I'm not going to probably go to Rio with somebody on the same night, but you know what I mean? Like, I will do things that are spontaneous. I will make gestures that are outlandish or, not expected, okay? And the reason for that is not trying to flex wealth. The reason for that is because I want to offer to her an escape, all right? Because again, most of us lead pretty boring lives, okay? We are contained in jobs that we don't like, that are under threat from AI. We're watching the news, which is terrifying us and boring us at the same time. We are, if you live in London, dealing with a transport system which seems to be continuously broken in some form, shape or form. We're having to pay taxes. Like there's all this crap that we have to deal with in modern life. What we have as an escape from that is various things. We have entertainment, okay? We have Netflix, we have YouTube, we have social media, okay? And girls lean very heavily into these things, TikTok, right? We have drugs, we have alcohol, okay? Very bad things, but they are present, and people use them in order to escape their reality. In some ways, when you are presenting yourself as, a potential boyfriend or a potential lover or whatever you want to call it, you're competing with those other things, okay? Because most of us are addicted to dopamine, right? We want those dopamine hits, we want those dopamine highs. Are you offering a dopamine hit? When she gets your message, is there a dopamine hit there? Or is it just, oh, it's that guy again, he's gonna ask me about work, he's gonna talk about his 401k or whatever, whatever, right? You've got to be offering something more, all right? And I'm not saying be a dancing monkey, okay? I'm not saying be showy. I'm certainly not saying be flashy. I'm not saying, oh, I've got a yacht in Monaco, let's go for the weekend. If you haven't. If you have, great. If you haven't, I'm not saying pretend. And I'm certainly not saying show off your wealth for the sake of your wealth. What I am saying is you've got to be interesting, okay? You've got to be an escape. You can't just be her employee. You're not just some guy who's there to help her fix the drains. Anyway, with that being said, hope you enjoyed this one. Do give me a like, do subscribe, give me a comment, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.